You spend hours every week consuming information about things you cannot change, chasing a sense of orientation that never arrives. This constant consumption of glowing notifications leaves you with a measurable feeling of falling behind. This exhaustion represents an accurate accounting of your processing capacity being taxed. You are operating within an information environment specifically structured to produce this cognitive drain. Most of us navigate the week assuming that if we track external instability closely enough, we will eventually achieve a stable position. But the harder you look at things outside your control, the less capable you become of resolving the problems you actually can change. The extraction loop is a specific kinetic architecture. It harvests human attention by supplying a stream of unresolvable external instability, which increases your perceived risk, driving you to consume more in a cycle that stays active as long as you keep feeding it. This system is extracting perfectly. It is performing the exact job its architects designed it to do. Clinical research into rumination shows that sustained attention on problems you cannot resolve reduces your problem-solving efficiency. The cognitive load of fixation degrades the processing capacity that would otherwise generate a solution. Thinking harder about external instability effectively starves your ability to handle your own practical affairs. Because we understand how this extraction works, we can immediately cut off its supply. We are finished giving the mechanism our attention. From this point forward, the requirement to react to external noise is evicted from the narrative. We will focus only on the law of internal substitution. Internal anchoring is the replacement for reactive consumption. It is a deliberate shift away from mediated, reported experiences and back toward direct experience and internal discipline. Research on the brain's default mode network shows that complex problem-solving requires periods of cognitive disengagement. You have to turn off the active engagement node to allow the network to process at depth. Moving away from an active problem actually increases the probability of insight. The breakthrough you need emerges when you stop the reactive processing that's currently clogging the system. This clarity represents your borrowed cognitive load returning to your control. By refusing to process useless external variables, you free up the bandwidth required to resolve the issues sitting on your own desk. Behavioral coherence is the predictable output of protecting your attention from the extraction loop. To make this shift, we have to move past simple willpower and into structural intervention. Willpower alone fails because making an active choice consumes energy. If you are already operating under a saturated cognitive load, you don't have the spare capacity to repeatedly decide not to check your phone. A structural intervention redesigns the environment so that non-access becomes the path of least resistance. You remove the mechanism by which the check occurs, so the decision is already made for you. True stability is a matter of engineering. When you design your surroundings to protect your attention, you offload the burden of choice to the environment itself. A massive divergence is now forming between the public narrative of chaos and the quiet behavioral reality of the productive class. Institutional systems price collective anxiety as a permanent input, betting the population remains locked in a reactive state. However, capital and attention quietly migrate toward localized stability. Algorithms are built to detect noise, not this sudden absence of it. These institutions rely on your reactive engagement to steer their own decision-making. As the productive class restricts that attention, the system loses the primary resource it needs to maintain its current structure. The current economic cycle is heading toward a definitive test of how you allocate your attention. Data on human performance suggests a reliable sequence. Internal cognitive discipline leads to behavioral clarity, which consistently precedes improved external conditions. By reclaiming your focus, you are building the capacity needed to navigate whatever the macro cycle presents. The moment this video ends, take one structural step. Permanently sever one external input mechanism in your physical environment. Make the non-access the default. Protect your processing capacity. Reclaim your internal discipline and let the rest of the world's noise fade into the background.